Look at any modern social feed or professional network, and you see a culture addicted to the announcement. People broadcast their gym goals before lifting a weight, and they detail their next business venture before registering an LLC. Modern society equates this public broadcasting with accountability and progress. To understand the strategic deficit of the announcement, analyst Beta points to the 4th century BCE. Chanakya codified the Arthashastra as a ruthless manual for statecraft and survival, forged in the high-stakes environment of ancient empire building. Chanakya operated in elite, high-stakes environments. He successfully orchestrated the collapse of the corrupt Nanda dynasty and engineered the foundation of the Maurya Empire, building one of the largest territories in ancient history. Among his codified rules, one uncompromising directive stands above the rest. Sharing your strategic secrets funds your own destruction. Information is the primary currency of warfare, and distributing it freely ensures failure. To dissect exactly why this rule holds true today, we will apply a dual analysis approach. Analyst Alpha will examine the internal physiological failure loops triggered by goal setting. Analyst Beta will map the external adversarial game theory of human networks. Together, they demonstrate a stark reality. The premature public articulation of intent is an act of strategic and biological suicide. Shifting to our internal biological model, Analyst Alpha examines the baseline neuroscience of grand planning. When you formulate a high-level goal, your body enters a state of physiological hunger, generating the required drive to execute. But the moment you share that plan and receive unexpected social validation, an immediate chemical rush completely overrides your brain's baseline logical execution centers. We quantify this as the dopamine trap. This diagram measures dopaminergic drive across announcement and execution phases. As you post your plan, external validation floods in, artificially spiking your biological gauge. Entering the execution phase, stripped of false momentum, the drive plummets to zero. This crash happens because the human nervous system is biologically incapable of distinguishing between the social praise of an idea and the physical completion of a task. This physiological reality stands in direct opposition to the modern corporate myth of building in public to maintain accountability. By speaking your plans aloud, you trick your own nervous system into a state of false satisfaction. You actively steal the chemical fuel required to execute the work. Shifting focus to the external environment, Analyst Beta attacks the naive concept of surrounding yourself with supportive people. This network map represents a standard professional ecosystem, positioning you as the central node surrounded by seemingly neutral peers. Chanakya defined human envy as an invisible variable existing subconsciously in adjacent individuals. As you broadcast ambition, you expose their lack of drive, immediately triggering latent hostility directed at your path. This dynamic creates the highly specific threat of the smiling enemy operating within your inner circle. This is a competitor who mimics friendship. They maintain invisible proximity to extract crucial intelligence, carefully concealing their adversarial intentions behind supportive language. The primary defensive posture against this threat is information asymmetry. An unannounced plan makes you an invisible target. If competitors don't know what you're building or where you're moving, they cannot preempt your actions or block your access to resources. Conversely, public announcements hand over the exact topographical map an enemy requires to place precise obstacles in your way. Strategic transparency eliminates your information advantage, providing the resources necessary for your own sabotage. Moving from passive defense to active predator dynamics requires a behavioral shift. A strategist must let their results be the only noise they make in the ecosystem. To test loyalty, Chanakya used a counterintelligence protocol, the strategy of the black water. In this closed network fluid model, we deliberately feed a distinct false data packet to a single node suspected of leaking information. Following the injection, absolute silence is the critical requirement. You do not explain or defend the information, you simply observe. Verification occurs when that exact false data packet returns to you from an unexpected third-party source. Once identified, you must isolate and sever the compromised connection immediately. This severance must be executed without warning and without explanation. Denying closure maintains your psychological dominance and prevents the compromised target from gathering any further intelligence. Maintaining absolute silence creates an active sonar system, mapping the hidden architecture of adversarial networks by tracking the return of compromised data. Stripping away the analytical frameworks leaves a profound psychological weight. Executing the law of absolute silence requires total isolation. Survival demands that you simultaneously override your baseline biological craving for praise while outmaneuvering an invisibly hostile social network. It is an incredibly heavy burden. You must sever all external validation loops to exist entirely within a self-sustained operational void. You must rely purely on invisible, unstoppable momentum. The vast majority of modern professionals simply lack the discipline to shoulder this. The urge to speak, to brag, and to seek validation is overwhelming. The path of the strategist requires you to embrace the shadows. Speak only when the words strategically improve upon the silence. True power is built on absolute unpredictability. Observe, plan, and execute your grand design only when the world least expects it.